The credence is that Nicholas Tattaglione did rough him up when they were cellmates. He told his lawyer that, and so that's true. Yeah, but I don't think Tattaglione was not in the jail cell with Jeffrey. And even look at it this way: let's assume, for the sake of this conversation, that Tattaglione killed him. Okay, why would the government cover it up and try to call it? There was a prisoner a few years ago, Whitey Bulger, who was a mobster who was on the lam for 20 some odd years, and they found him. He was put in jail, and he was brutally killed by 3 other inmates. Well, they investigated that, and they found the 3 guys and prosecuted them. There was no reason to cover it up or try to call it a. The 3 guys, they didn't try to make it look like a.
Yeah, what makes it really interesting is that both political parties seem to be in on the cover-up, and it doesn't look like you're ever going to get any justice. I mean, what do you do? Do you have to go through the court system to try and get more information released?
Well, that's what people are planning to do. Not just me. There's a lot of people now looking into this because these questions are being raised, and a lot of people are saying, "Hey, this apparently, obviously, wasn't a suicide," and they want to get to the root of it. Because look, it's an American citizen was killed in a federal prison, supposedly under the protection of the federal government, and that's what. No matter what party you're in, that should be a little bit disturbing.
Yeah, and it must have been absolutely devastating for you and your entire family. So, do you think the fact that this is all blown up in the news again now gives you hope that you can get to the bottom of things, or are you just seeing everybody scramble to cover it up?
Well, it's a little bit of both. We are seeing everybody, scrambling to cover it up with all, the nonsense videotapes and with all the errors and omissions and editing being done. The other stuff in the Justice Department report that doesn't add up. The Justice Department report said that I was notified after Jeffrey's death. I was not notified. I heard about Jeffrey's death on CNN. The government didn't notify me.
So what were you doing the day you found that news out?
I was having breakfast. I was out of town in a hotel having breakfast, and the television was on, and it said, I saw his picture, and it said Jeffrey Epstein was found dead from an apparent suicide. So that's when I said, "Oh, gee, well, that's when I first thought, okay, he decided to take himself out." At that moment, I had no reason to doubt it. But like I said, after the autopsy was done, I had a lot of reason to doubt it because the pathologist doubted it highly. Yeah.
And prior to that, what had been your last communication with him?
Well, the night before he flew home when he got arrested, he got arrested on a Friday, and he was in Paris before he flew home from Paris. So Thursday night, before he came home, he called me from Paris, and it was just a normal conversation. We used to speak or email each other, kind of regularly.
So his last communication, he was in good spirits. He wasn't depressed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
or anything.
Absolutely, yeah. When we used to speak, we used to make each other laugh quite a bit. So it was one of those funny phone conversations. Very normal.
So speaking of France then, Jean-Luc Brunel was arrested, and he ended up, the same fate as Jeffrey. Do you find that highly suspicious in the French prison?
Well, I find it suspicious for sure. I mean, I don't know Brunel. I didn't have any dealings with him, but yeah, it's obviously suspicious.
And do you think that something could possibly happen to Ghislaine Maxwell? Because it seems to be a reoccurring thing surrounding this case.
Anything's possible.
And do you think that she perhaps knows a lot more and could help get to the bottom of what happened with your brother?
Possibly, yeah. I think it's a possibility.
Do you think any of that will come out? Because it seems like she's playing to try and get her sentence reduced. And she's supposed to go before Congress on the 11th of August.
Yeah, and she's, from what I understand, she's looking to make a deal. Like, she'll talk, but she wants immunity and certain other conditions. I don't know the list, but she has certain conditions before she talks, or otherwise she's going to go in and plead the fifth to everything, I would imagine. So it also depends, like, we know that the guy who went to speak to her, unless we know what questions he actually asked her, it doesn't really matter. You know, he could have went in and said, you know, ask her what her favorite color is, and then came out saying, well, we got no useful information. So we don't know what he asked her, and that would be very telling.
Well, the guy who went to speak to her was Trump's number 2 at the DOJ, I believe, who was Trump's former criminal defense lawyer.
Yeah, that's another coincidence for you.
Seems really odd. And Ghislaine, Maxwell's lawyer, is friends with Trump's lawyer. They were on a podcast, all lovey-dovey, buddy together. So it just gets weirder and weirder, Mark.
Yeah, well, it's been weird for almost 6 years now.
And as you've seen it just swirl around the internet and all these theories come and go, what's crossed your mind? And are there any theories that you would like to set the record straight on through this broadcast?
You know, I don't listen to a lot of the theories that are out there. I'm just looking at the facts. You know, if someone has a theory that's based on facts, I'll listen to them. But people just have, you know, ideas. Look, there's things out there I've recently read a couple of articles or ideas where I've been described as Jeffrey's older brother. Well, I'm not the older brother. Jeffrey was older than I was. So, you know, if they can't get that simple fact straight, I can't put any weight into what they're doing.
And, you know, do you have other family members that were close to Jeffrey, and has it impacted them?
No, we have no other siblings, and Jeffrey had no children. He was single. Our parents are gone, so there's not a lot of family. I was his only, next of kin.
I think you know, the biggest theories are like the Clintons and Prince Andrew and things like that. Do you think that's nonsense, or do you think they are so powerful they could have like an intelligence agency go into the prison and do something like this to Jeffrey?
I don't think so, because if they did, then why would the Justice Department be covering this up? Have this orchestrated and covered up? And I don't think any of the names you mentioned have that ability.
So who will be at the top of your list then?
I'm not speculating. I stick to facts.
Yeah, don't blame you. And have you got any pending legal action?
Well, supposedly the groups that I've been in contact with may be filing some more FOIA requests for more information, and maybe some lawsuits to get the previous ones filled.
And has the government told you about the missing minute?
And there's other groups that are investigating it for. No, they don't. Government doesn't tell me anything. I'm the last person they want to talk to at this point.
What was the last communication you had with the government?
After a thorough investigation, we've determined this was no, that wasn't the last. The last was when I asked for the videotape from the camera that Bill Barr referred to, years ago. I asked for that early on. I was initially told I couldn't get it because it was part of an ongoing investigation. And I understand that. But then after the investigation was over, I asked again for that video footage. And I was very specific that I wanted to see the footage from the camera that Bill Barr was referring to. But I wanted to see the footage from the camera from 10 o'clock at night until into the next morning to see who were the last people on the tier and what happened when they took Jeff's body off the tier. And then I was told, I got a response from the Bureau of Prisons that the two cameras that were working don't show that area. And that's the last area. So first, I couldn't get the footage because it was under an investigation. And then the cameras that were working don't show that area. So again, what was Bill Barr referring to? What video was Bill Barr referring to? And now they released this video that doesn't really show anything.
And the official narrative at the time was that Jeffrey had been put on watch and that his cellmate had been removed the night before. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. Well, he was put on watch initially after that incident with Taglione, but then he was removed from watch.
Okay, I see. Was he in a single cell the day this happened then?
Yes. Yeah.
I see. Okay, and was there any recorded phone calls that you could access that perhaps Jeffrey made that would indicate his what was going on in the jail at that time?
Not that I know of. No, he made a phone call the night before, but that wasn't recorded. He made a call from the shower. Somebody gave him a phone to use in the shower, and he said that he was calling his mother, but our mother passed away in 2004. So it's well known that he called his girlfriend that night.
So his last phone call was to his girlfriend on a contraband phone from the prison shower. And did the girlfriend say that he was in good spirits?
Yes.
So she must be as shell-shocked as you over this.
Well, we were all kind of shocked, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what about written correspondence from him in his final days? Did you get to access any of that?
No.
And when was his last legal visit before he died?
It might have been that day. I think it was with that
day.
Yeah, because he had lawyers with them a lot over there. So I know for a while, I don't know if it was that day, likely was, he had paid to have lawyers there so that he wouldn't have to be in the cell, so he could be with somebody in the area where the attorneys meet with prisoners. And supposedly other prisoners were a little annoyed because he was taking up one of those lawyer rooms because he was just paid to have somebody there with him.
Yeah, that makes sense. And didn't his lawyer at the time say that Jeffrey was exploring various legal options and he was hopeful that they would work? Hence, he didn't have any motive to do this?
Yes, that's what the lawyer said.
I think, did you go on Piers Morgan as well, Mark?
Yes, I did.
Have you thought about going on Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson? Because I think they would get huge, you get a huge wave of support and people.
I was on Tucker Carlson a while back. He contacted me. That was probably a year or two ago. But more recently, I've been with other people who have asked to hear me speak about this, like you have.
Yeah, I think if you went on Rogan or Tucker again, I think you cause a huge amount of outrage in the public, and it would probably help your cause if you would consider that.
Well, I know that Joe Rogan is now taking an interest in this because he mentioned about, that drawing a line in the sand that's been crossed, so he was questioning it just a few days ago.
Yeah, I watched the clip. I think he said, I don't know if it was him or his guest, said that, even if Jeffrey had leapt into the rope, you wouldn't have had the 3 hyoid fractures or breakages like they're trying to tell us.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
and that was one of the major clues for the pathologist that actually did the autopsy, that actually saw his body, not the ones who just want to call it and brush this off, and to stop any further investigating.
Mark, we're at the 30 minutes, and I appreciate you spending this time with us. Is there anything you'd like to say in conclusion to the public about this, while it's so important and in the news?
Well, I think the main thing is that to be pretty much convinced that this was not a suicide, and the question should be asked, who had Jeffrey killed? That's the real question. Who had Jeffrey killed?